Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today's guest, Kimberly Collins. She's back again to explore the world of personality testing and how self-awareness can transform leadership and team dynamics. From personality tools like the MBTI and Enneagram to creating a culture of psychological safety, Kimberly shares practical tips to help lead with confidence. All right, let's dive in. This episode was brought to you by Gray Finch. Hey docs, if you want to have a great business, the right practice management software is essential. But some can be slow, outdated, and lacking good support. That's why I recommend Gray Finch to all orthodontists. It's the fastest, most reliable, and most secure platform to grow your business and improve your efficiency. It's completely web-based, so you can run your entire practice anywhere and from any device with no servers, no downloads, or hidden fees. They even have the most helpful and responsive support team around. Right now, Gray Finch is giving a $500 discount to our listeners. Visit grayfinch.com/Jill Allen to learn more and see why it's one of the fastest growing providers in America. Hey docs, it's that time of year again. AAO 2025 is just around the corner and we can't wait to see you in Philadelphia. Jill Allen and Associates will be at booth number 2250, so be sure to stop by. Whether you're new and looking to connect, an industry partner, or a friendly face from the past, we'd love to catch up. And since this year's theme is the biggest party ever, we're kicking off things right with an exclusive happy hour sponsored by Provide, the leader in tech-enabled financial services for aspiring and established healthcare practice owners on April the 24th. Great people, great conversations, and the perfect way to start AAO in style. Spots are limited, so you must RSVP. Use the link in the show notes and be sure to mention Hey Docs to get your name on the list. But listen, guys, the fun doesn't stop there. Join us at our other co-hosted events, the Celebration Party on Friday and the Mary's List Party on Saturday. See you in Philly, and remember to come by and say hi at booth number 2250. Kimberly, it is so exciting to have you back on Hey Docs again. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Yes. So I have just really enjoyed over our last couple episodes. We really dove into, I'll say, the world of personality tests. And I know you were able to go over MBTI and the Enneagram. And today, what I really wanted to do, and I know we had talked about this leading up to this, is I really wanted to talk about how this all kind of comes together and just how do we take it that step further and showing our listeners, like, how do we use these tools? Because standalone, a personality test is just a personality test, right? But how do we use these tools, especially in our offices, and make them useful for us? So I'm wondering, just in the event that somebody maybe didn't catch one of the other episodes or is like, what, Jill? There's an episode I need to go back and listen to. There's actually two. But could you just talk to us, just a quick recap on what you do and what we talked about with the two different tests, just for a quick recap there for us?
Absolutely. So I am an Enneagram coach and consultant. I'm also an executive coach, so I can work outside of the personality typing systems. I'm also a MBTI practitioner, and we had the opportunity to talk about Enneagram and MBTI in the last two podcasts. But just a really quick recap, personality typing systems in general are basically tools that help us describe and categorize patterns of thought, behavior, and emotion. And they provide a framework for understanding. And each of these personality typing systems are a little bit different. They provide a different framework of what we're looking at. And depending on your preference or the need of the team, they can be useful in different ways. So the Enneagram is going to be looking at why, that core motivation behind behaviors that we see. And the MBTI is looking at those 4 categories of human experience. It's really looking at what our preferences are in those 4 categories. And the nice thing about that is that we can find our slipstream of how we prefer to move about the world. And it also helps us with figuring out when we're not showing up the right way. And that's the same with the Enneagram as well. And really the point of all of this, there's no gold star at the end of it to get this is your type or this is your preference or whatever it is. The whole point of personality typing systems, whether you're using Enneagram, MBTI, Colby, DISC, Strength Finders, whatever it is, improving your self-awareness, exposing those things that are in our shadow or in our blind spot and bringing that to the front so that you can decide if that's how you want to continue moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that really just leads me right into my first question. And it really is, I think for so many of us, and we've talked about this, I've done it in my company. I know a lot of teams do it where they're like, ooh, let's all take a personality test and just find out about each other or whatnot. Yeah. And what I love in talking to you over the last couple episodes and really starting to understand it, and you just led to this, but I think especially as business owners and as leaders of a company, this so many times we think of it like, oh, I need to find out about my team. But I look at this as what you just touched on is, as an owner, how can I use these tools to bring value to my practice? And I'm wondering if you can just maybe unpack that a little bit more, and maybe with that lens of you as a leader, you as a business owner versus just, yes, it's great to know what's happening with our team, and we'll unpack that
Absolutely.
too. But can you speak to that?
Absolutely. And I'm one of those people that believes that the healthiest leaders and the healthiest organizations are filled with healthy people, healthy individuals. And it's that same idea that we can't show up as our best selves if we're always living from a deficiency and trying to give from that place. So we got to give from a healthy place and a place of excess where we feel like we can show up as our best selves. So I always like to start with the leader. Whenever I'm working with a team or I'm talking about the Enneagram, I like to think about what is this like ultimate goal of personality typing systems, besides them being super fun. Of course, they're fascinating and infinitely fun to be bringing to the group. But the ultimate goal for any of these things is to improve your emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is wonderful that you can get from these personality typing systems, but it's only information. It's not a practice. It's not a growth practice from there. And so it's all about taking that information as a leader, as an individual, and saying, okay, this is how I show up in conflict. Okay, this is my slipstream of how I like to go about the day, and just own that, acknowledge that, and then try to improve that moving forward. So it's all about improving your self-awareness. That's what you get from taking these personality typing systems, and then improving your personal effectiveness from there, choosing those places that are the areas of least resistance or least satisfaction, places that you're like, this is just not going well. How am I showing up, and how can I improve that? And that in turn improves your relationship. So even just at the individual level, personality typing systems help you improve your emotional intelligence as you are applying that. And emotional intelligence, what I mean by that is your ability to self-regulate. The world comes at you with so many things, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. Yeah. So how are you gonna, especially as business owners and leaders, you can go into a Monday thinking you're going to do X, Y, or Z. And guess what? The unicorns are coming down the street and you've got to figure out how to fix the plumbing. Who knows? It's crazy. So it's about, how can I regulate myself when these things come down the pike? How can I show empathy for the people around me? How can I know how to communicate in a way that's effective? And how can I understand the social implications? So that's all emotional intelligence. This is so important to our organization because healthy leaders help their teams become more healthy. So they help develop this psychological safety for their teams. So even before the team has any awareness of what a personality typing system is, the leader is establishing more psychological safety for the team by just being healthier themselves. And that doesn't mean that they have to become a slave to the team, but they're showing up healthier because they're feeling more healthy. And it's all about the leader. They show all those studies where it's like, where can we get the most bang for our buck with applying psychological principles? And it's always the teacher, the leader, the parent, and it's not the team, the kids, the students. It's a top-down thing.
Yeah. And I love, and you said it multiple times, but emotional intelligence. And I think, especially for a lot of my docs that are listening, you didn't get here because you aren't intelligent, right?
Oh, exactly.
We've got that book smartness. We've got that, whatever it took to get you to where you are, where you're like, I've got a doctorate behind my name. But it is something different when we think about that emotional intelligence. And I think about even Jill 18 years ago when I started my business, Jill 34 years ago when I was just getting into the orthodontic world. Totally different Jill, right? And through the years, unfortunately, I didn't have a coach like you to help me through this, and I didn't learn it, but I have always been, I'll say, a slave to learning. And so I've just constantly filled myself with reading and different books and whatnot. But I think that what I just want to make a point to anybody that's listening is, it is really up to each one of you to build your emotional intelligence. And it transcends into our families. It transcends into how we interact through our day with our coworkers, with our team members, with your patients, all of it. And if you don't have control over that, and hey, listen, I'm, again, 18 years ago is not who I am today. And I'm still learning, and I'll be different 18 years from now. But we really have to be thinking about that. It's just one more tool in our toolbox of how do we become good leaders? How do we have people follow us? And I think you would agree, the teams or the doctors or the leaders that are out there that have a hard time getting people to follow, a lot of times it has to do with, it starts with that emotional intelligence. And so I'm wondering if you can maybe just give us some practical ways an orthodontist or a business owner can identify, and I love thinking about this, their triggers or blind spots, to be aware, help them be aware of those so that they can build on them to actually turn them into strengths versus weaknesses.
Absolutely. And like you said, emotional intelligence, it's like good hair. It doesn't happen by accident, it happens by appointment. So emotional intelligence does not happen by accident. Don't just go through the years and eventually end up more wise. It takes unfortunately, having these experiences in our lives where maybe we didn't show up our best way, our most productive selves, and learning it from it, intentionally learning from it, is how we improve our emotional intelligence. And those technical skills that were learned in school, there was a lot of effort that was placed into that. Tons of book learning, tons of tests, board certifications. And emotional intelligence is a little bit the same way, that there is an active practice. And the triggers are an incredible first place for it, because it's so obvious when we find ourselves in a trigger position. And the best ways we can do, obviously, I'm a personality typing system person. I'm going to say, if you want a shortcut to know what your triggers are, check out the Enneagram, check out the MBTI, because they're going to list them for you. It's going to be very nuanced by the individual, but it's going to be at least a starting place. Hey, could these be places where you become activated? And of course, the trigger should be, it's not a bad thing. It's a piece of information for you that something is going on, that your body is saying, I'm out of regulation. I feel afraid. I feel like my safety, my belonging, my ability to be loved is being threatened. And it's it's asking yourself to get yourself back to being regulated. And so it's just information. It shouldn't be something that's a shame point for you, but we all have them. So personality typing systems are obviously going to be a great place to start. But if that's not your thing, and I always have to put it out there that there's people out there who just do not like this, and that is totally okay. Yep. We can still learn from our triggers. And the best thing is to start at those spots where we are not showing up as our best. And triggers in particular will usually have some kind of body reaction to it as well, or a pattern of behavior. And the best things we can do is to first start to identify the areas where we're not showing up the best, and try to parse out, are we hearing a certain message from these interactions? Usually there's some kind of message we're receiving from that. Just for Enneagram type 2s, if you're out there, the helpers, if we feel like we're not feeling appreciated in some kind of way, or we don't feel like we're loved or wanted, or we are going to be rejected, we're going to start becoming activated, because that's going to help us get back to that regulated state. So once you know what your trigger is, owning it and figuring out what your pattern is. What's your body pattern behind that? What's your behavior pattern? For some people, it's pulling away and getting isolation and getting more emotional and moody. For some people, it's speeding things up. We got to make decisions faster. We got to tackle the obstacle as fast as we can. And it's knowing what that pattern is so that it can be a cue for you. Okay, I need to find a space for myself to get regulated, and giving yourself that thing. If it's that you need some space before you make a decision, or slow down your process, maybe you need to go rage walk the block, whatever it is, get yourself back into a regulated state, and then find some time for reflection after you've come out of that moment. What is it that I heard? What is it that I need in those moments? And trying to now apply that from a place of regulation. It's all about finding yourself where you were triggered, getting your brain back online, and then learning from it. Of course, if you are in a position where you can talk vulnerably to the people around you about what has happened and maybe how this can improve in the future, that's always a great conversation when you're not triggered, of course.
Yeah.
And then that's also opens up the opportunity for better communication and interaction with other people, allowing them to tell you what their triggers are and how that communication can improve to decrease those chances in the future.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And again, just everything that you're saying, I'm again thinking even with my own team and myself, again, as a leader, as a business owner, it's funny. I know those triggers, and it can be just a phrase. If somebody says, or even implies that we can't do something, I know it's an automatic, and they're going to get a response that I really have to like keep in check, because I'm like, okay, that they're not really saying that. But in my mind, I'm like, of course we can do this. Of course we're smart people. There was and I know that isn't, exactly, that's a very superficial, high level, but it took me a while to understand that was even a phrase like that is a trigger for me. And, I think my team now knows, don't say that to Jill.
This might not be possible.
Exactly. I'll be like, oh yeah, it is possible. We just have to figure our way around this.
Absolutely. And nothing is superficial when it leads to a better pattern. And sometimes we're not ready for those really deep ones. Those ones that, have been in there since we were little kiddos. And there's a lot of compassion that needs to go into this process. This isn't the finger out of the sky pointing at people and saying, how dare you be triggered? These are reactions that come from this little part of us that is afraid. And if we can come at this with compassion and also, okay, I understand that, but we're going to respond differently this next time. So it is a process too, and nothing is too small and nothing is too out there to be learned from.
Yeah. I love that. So we've been talking a lot about the doctors and how we as business owners, us as the leaders, have to think about this. And last time when you were on, we talked about the psychological safety for team members. And I want to switch gears a little bit and move into that, because as you and I both know, orthodontics, it's high pressure there, especially in the afternoon. We're going 100 miles an hour. We're doing all that we can in those busy offices to keep the train on the tracks as we're moving along. So I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about just some of the strategies maybe that anybody who's listening as a leader can use to create a safe workplace where their team members are going to feel comfortable about sharing ideas and learning from their mistakes and pulling all this together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Psychologically safe teams and workplaces don't mean that there's not a ton of high pressure, especially in the orthodontic world. We all know what it's like at 3:30 and the bracket comes off and the parent is upset and the team member is sick and whatever it is, there is a lot on the pressure. And so establishing psychological safety in the workplace, whenever I talk about this topic with team leaders, what I don't want the team leader to hear is this is something extra to do, because the team leader already has enough on their plate. To say, okay, now you need to spend all your time with every single team member and be their coach and best friend and therapist and whatever it is, that's not what I'm saying. So psychological safety can actually be broken down into certain categories. And so we'll talk about those specifically. But what I want the team leader to know first is them being healthy is the best step.
Yes.
And that means boundaries. That means structure. That means delegating what they can. And I know that sometimes feeling like you're in a healthy place and not burned out as a business owner can feel like the unicorn situation. But that is the first place, is saying, this is my capacity. These are my weaknesses and how I'm putting boundaries around that. And this is how I can feel like I'm not in a constant burnout state. That is step one. And then the categories of psychological safety, they're more understandable from that point.
And now, a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Hey docs, is your team overwhelmed by endless admin tasks? Let My Ortho VA throw you a lifeline. With expert HIPAA-trained virtual assistants specializing in orthodontics, My Ortho VA helps streamline everything from billing and insurance to phone support and reporting. Right now, over 100 VAs are supporting 58 practices nationwide, cutting staffing costs by up to 60%. No onboarding fees, no long-term contracts. Just a simple, cost-effective way to transform your operations and focus on patient satisfaction. Brace for growth. Visit myorthova.com to interview your next best hire and align your practice for success. Hey docs, let's talk about Smile Suite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at GetSmileSuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite, because every smile deserves a suite of excellence.
So the first one is going to be very open, direct communication. So that means everybody knows where they stand. Expectations are incredibly clear and they're enforced as well. That means that when confidential things are happening, is what Brene Brown calls as vault. That means there's nothing going in and out. This will be my once per podcast plug for a very strong and enforceable gossip policy. There's nothing that's going to destroy a workplace that people care so much about than letting gossip go from a trickle to a stream and just blow through psychological safety. So that's going to be, that's what that open communication, everybody knows where they stand, even if they're getting bad feedback, negative feedback, if they know what the expectations are and they know what it is moving forward, that's psychological safety. They know who they are. There's no politicking or subterfuge, or there's no gossip. That's psychological safety. The next part of it is really present and active listening. So again, that's why I always start with the leader and say, what's your capacity? So do you need to have office times that you can actually talk to team, or say, hey, you know what? I had a crazy day. Let's do this tomorrow. And you've got 5 minutes, whatever it is. But when you're talking to your team and when team members are talking to each other, is that present and active listening. I hear you. I'm showing respect by maybe not always agreeing, but being here with you and having those structures around it so that's possible. I feel like sometimes team leaders feel like they always have to be available, which means that their brain is always on something else as well. But it's about putting the boundaries around that team leader so they can feel like I can be here with you and I can listen. And I might not always agree and I might not implement this, but I hear you and I respect you enough to be here in this moment. Another part of it is going to be that non-defensive productive responses. So that's going to go right up to that emotional intelligence. That's why it starts there. But this is how you're showing your team that things can happen. The team leader can get negative feedback. The wheels can come off in the day and you're going to still be there responding and not reacting. And that takes a lot of individual work. So that's why that emotional intelligence with the team leader is so essential. And that goes right into the last category, which is that making mistakes and being able to learn from it. And that is both in just handling every day-to-day things. So the team leader being able to, when it's appropriate, say, I mishandled that. I made a mistake, and this is how we're going to resolve it. And what that's showing the team is, hey, I'm asking you to take risks. I'm taking risks. Yeah. Sometimes things don't work out. And we're not going to look around to find who to blame so we don't have to feel that shame that comes with failure. We're just going to fix it. We're just going to be part of the solution now. So it goes on the task side, but it also goes with the relationship side, because we as leaders or we as team members are going to mess up. We're going to show up to a conversation with more feistiness, more spice than we wanted to. We're going to show up and our car got a flat tire and we snap at somebody. It's gonna happen. But this comes from the world of parenting. It's all about the repair. It's all about circling back and saying, hey, I showed up not how I wanted to. I'm really sorry about that. I had these things happen and I took it out on you and I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And they show in the parenting world, it's not perfect parenting, but the repair that makes the relationship stronger. And that's how we model that as leaders to our team members, is saying, hey, I didn't show up how I wanted to. I took it out on you. I'm sorry. This is what I'm going to do in the future. Yeah. This is what's establishing that psychological safety. So we see it's not about not having stress, and it's not about doing things perfectly, but trying to show up in a way that's putting people at ease, that there's no undercurrents of other motives, and there's an openness and directness in what we need as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love what you said there. And again, all of this is so applicable. I can take it back and I'll tell you I'll say some of the toughest things I've done sometimes as an owner is, I love that active listening, where somebody will catch me and they'll want me making decisions about stuff in the middle of a day where I've got my head and I'm not actively listening, and either I don't respond the way I wanted to, or I don't really think through what they're asking me. And never fails, I'm then having to come back. Luckily, I catch it after the fact, but sometimes it takes a little bit for me to be like, I didn't want to handle it that way. I didn't mean what I said. And I think that's the hardest thing. And then to be able to come back and be like, hey, I know we had this discussion, but now that I've had some time to think about it, this is really what I mean. And or this is really the decision or how I want to handle, or I'm sorry. I know I snapped at you. That wasn't my intention. It's just, I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I was almost in that primal reactive.
Absolutely. And we're all going to be in those places. Yeah. And what an amazing model to circle back, say, ooh, sorry about that. Yeah. Didn't mean to show up like that. Wasn't about you, was totally about my inability to handle 3,000 things coming at me at once. But it's that circling back that's modeling to people, hey, I'm human, you're human at times too. And like, we're just doing our best. And there's so much understanding that is built up, so much compassion and empathy. It's incredible how the front of the tough leader that makes always the perfect decisions is actually a barrier for people for compassion and understanding. But when we let those down, how much humanity comes together and says, hey, me too. Me too. I've showed up in ways that I don't want to.
Yeah.
So an amazing example of just modeling what it is to be a leader.
Yeah, thanks. So I want to talk next level. So we've talked about doctors, we've talked about security for teams, but I think there are a lot of listeners that are in that level where their practices are bigger than a startup, and we all get to a point, or most of us in our practices in our businesses, where we've got, I'll call it like that director level of team members. We've got the leads, clinical directors, however you want to title it in your practice, office managers. And one of the things that I feel like our industry has a black eye on is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Peter Principle,
Yeah.
and I think that we unfortunately promote people. They're good at this, so therefore I must promote them because they'll be good at this. And I'm not going to get into the Peter Principle per se, because that's like a whole nother podcast. But I think that sometimes when we are promoting within our practices, we forget to give the people that we're promoting the tools, just like we need as owners, the tools to have that emotional intelligence to be able to handle what's going on with them, because they are, and I think even more, I think it's hard because they're no longer peers. Now, like they've stepped up into this realm. A lot of times the doctors, us as owners, we're the owner from the beginning. We're the doctor from the beginning. We were never at the peer-to-peer level. And I just think that there's such a, when you really think about it, okay, they're moving up. There's that country song, they love you till you move up. You know what I mean? And so I'm wondering if you can talk just a little bit about, if a doctor wants to develop that next level in their practice, the leaders that are under them, what are some suggestions you have that maybe would help them be more effective in, if they're stepping into that role? And I'm going to say, of course, it's probably some of the things you've already talked about, but can you talk about that? Because I just think that's such a dynamic that we don't really dig into. So we just assume, oh, I gave them a promotion, so therefore they should be good at,
so they should know how to handle people now. Yeah, absolutely. And this is it's such a big thing in all workplaces where, and it goes back to what we were chatting before, where there's this technical side of all of our jobs. And sometimes leaders are chosen because they're incredibly technically competent. They're great at what they do. And it's almost like encouraging them, especially if you've found that person who's really going to be able to handle things on the technical side of this emotional intelligence side, this leadership side is actually a different skill. And that this is something that needs to be studied and worked on. This isn't going to be something, again, this doesn't happen by accident. You don't all of a sudden become really good at handling HR things. Is challenging. Managing people is challenging. And so it's a lot about what we were talking to, where the healthy individuals are going to be healthy leaders. So encouraging those potential future leaders to start working on themselves. It's always going to start with themselves. Start figuring out all those shadow parts of them that are showing up in the workplace. Really big corporations, before they start to promote up, they do 360s, which is personality typing systems plus interviews with all the peers. This is how you're showing up to help that person start to work on their shadow side and improving their communication and all of those things. So improving their personal effectiveness, so their communication, their ability to handle conflict, their ability to handle triggers, and self-regulate. So this is all still with the self, working on themselves. And then it's an intentional coaching from the main business owner or whoever is helping this leader, coaching them on now understanding and managing the people around them. This is where using personality typing systems with the team is so helpful. Not so that you can, it's always tricky. You want to be careful. You're not saying we're going to use this information to manipulate people to do the things we want, but it's about helping the leader in training understand the people around them, that they are just viewing the world maybe 180 degrees different than they are. And that's totally okay. We need that. And starting that coaching process and modeling too from the main leader on what it is that's leadership in this organization. What is it that is expected of you? And how do we handle these moments of conflict? And so it's a coaching thing, it's a modeling thing, it's a mentoring thing of helping them develop these leadership skills. So it's almost like they're entering a training program when they're starting to go into these leadership positions. But it also has to be an invitation to the leader in training. Some people are not ready to go on a self-growth journey, but if they're ready for it, it's going to improve their personal lives and also help them manage the expectation of managing people, which is its own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And again, we could do a whole podcast just on that. You know, it always is. I feel every time I talk to you, it's just, gosh, it just revs me up because these are the sides of the business that we think so much about, the clinical side of it, especially in an ortho office. And this is so imperative in my opinion, to just building that practice that's got legs. It's got more depth than just being a good clinician. And these are the key things that make it so that your team members want to stay or just feel like I'm just floating through and moving on. So docs, make this a priority this year. Even if it's just starting with you, make it a priority. Kimberly, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe they want to schedule some coaching sessions with you, maybe just get their feet wet in, oh, okay, I'm going to take Jill's challenge. I am going to invest in myself first. Or maybe they've already done that and they're like, wow, I never even thought that I should be doing this for my directors or for my team leads. How can they do that?
Absolutely. So you can check me out on my website. It's enneagramreflections.com. You can also send me an email at enneagramreflections@gmail.com, and I can introduce you to some ideas or coaching things, and we can also talk through any kinds of ideas you have for team things. So very customizable to what it is that you need to feel like you're healthy, your team leads are healthy, and that your team has some support and resources for themselves as well.
I love that. Thanks again for being here. Every time I just leave so encouraged, and it's such good information. So you probably remember I like to finish this up with a little speed round.
Oh, yes. You're going to see me thinking on my feet. Oh boy, here we go.
All right. So we'll just jump right into it. What's one daily habit or ritual that helps you stay productive or balanced?
I always, the night before, write down the tasks that I want to do the next day. I like it. It's just a little panda planner. They're $20 on Amazon, but I love those. I love those. But I can put what's hard dates, and then I can put my tasks. And it helps me think through it before I go to bed. And then I'm not in the morning with the craziness of the kids trying to figure out what is it that I was going to do today.
Yeah. So, that's an excellent one. Okay. What's your go-to strategy for getting unstuck when you're facing a tough problem?
Oh, do something that's totally right brain. So like I get so, I need to do this email. I need to write this, whatever. And if I'm stuck, I go, I need to do something else. So I'm a singer. So I sing, or I work on music or play the piano or something, go for a walk, just get out of that brain. And it usually helps.
Unlocks. Yep. Yeah. That's great. If you could add one unconventional perk to a workplace, what would that be, do you think?
I'm such a comfort person, so it would probably have to be like sparkling water or something really silly, but just special. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. And then last one, what's one piece of advice you wish you had maybe followed earlier in your career?
Ooh, that's a really good one. I think it would probably be developing a time when you can do some self-reflection every single day. So now I do what's called morning pages. It's part of The Artist's Way, which is a Julia Cameron book, but it's 3 pages of stream of consciousness every morning before you get going. And that has been pivotal for me in the last 5 years, but I wish I'd done it before that, because it just helps you brain drain all that stuff that's going on. It keeps you a little bit more clear-minded.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Once again, thank you for being on Hey Docs. This was wonderful. I'm sure people are going to be reaching out, but thank you just for all of your knowledge. This has been just it's been fun to talk through the personality test and then wrap it up this way. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy to be here.
Yeah. All right. Till next time.
See ya.